The FBI begs you to come back to work on a special case. Your former partner has turned and is now wanted for the murders of 3 coworkers. The rain pounded against the windows of the small cafe in Seattle. Inside, I stirred my coffee absently, lost in thoughts that had haunted me for years. It had been a year since I walked away from the FBI, a year of living under the radar, trying to forget the horrors of my past cases. But today, the FBI had found me. The door swung open, and a tall figure stepped inside, dripping wet. He was unmistakable, Agent Matt Connors, my old partner. He had a grim look on his face, the kind that only came from bad news. As he approached, I felt the familiar tightness in my chest. "Jesse," he said, pulling up a chair without waiting for an invitation. "Thanks for meeting me," I nodded, my eyes fixed on the steaming cup in front of me. "What's this about?" "You know I left the bureau for a reason," Matt sighed and leaned in, lowering his voice. "I wouldn't be here if it wasn't urgent. It's about Harper." The name hit me like a slap. Harper was our team leader, a mentor, and a friend. "What about him?" "Harper's gone rogue," Matt said quietly. "He's wanted for the murders of 3 coworkers." Text Hermie heart skipped a beat. Harper had always been a solid rock in the storm of our investigations. The idea of him turning into a killer was unfathomable. "You're joking." "I wish I was. He's been linked to the murders of Sam, Laura, and Greg. We have evidence, a lot of it. He's got a list of people he's targeting, and the names on that list, they're people we know." I stared at Matt, my mind racing. Why would he do this? Harper was the last person I'd expect to turn. We don't know yet. But we need your help. You were the one who understood him best. You're the only one who might be able to get through to him. I hesitated. The last time I had faced Harper, it was in a conference room, discussing protocols and procedures. The idea of tracking him down was like reopening old wounds. Why me? There are other agents who can handle this. Matt's eyes were intense. Because you knew him. Because you were there when he was most vulnerable. We're out of options. We need someone who can approach him with the understanding and trust that only you had. I looked out the window, the rain now tapering off. Memories of Harper, the camaraderie, and the respect we had for each other came flooding back. As much as I wanted to ignore the plea, I knew I couldn't walk away from this. Not when it involved someone I once called a friend. "All right," I said, finally meeting Matt's gaze. "I'll do it. But I need full access and protection for the people I care about." "I can't do this alone," Matt nodded. "You'll have everything you need. We're counting on you." We left the cafe, and the cold, damp air hit my face as I prepared for the task ahead. Tracking down Harper wouldn't be easy. He was a ghost in the wind now, and the man I once knew was lost somewhere in the shadows of his own making. The investigation led me through grim alleys and hidden corners of the city, chasing whispers of Harper's whereabouts. Days turned into weeks, each piece of evidence more chilling than the last. I found traces of his past, reminders of who he was before the darkness took over. The old warehouse was a cavern of echoes. Harper sat amidst the ruins of his former life, his back hunched and his gaze lost in the dim light filtering through broken windows. My footsteps echoed as I approached him, my heart heavy with the weight of this impossible situation. "Harper," I called gently, trying to reach the man I once knew. He looked up, his eyes hollow and wild. "Jesse, I didn't want this. I never wanted any of this. Then why did you do it?" I asked, stepping closer. "Why did you kill them?" Harper's face twisted in anguish. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was trying to protect something much bigger than me. But it spiraled out of control. They forced my hand." "Who did?" I pressed. "Who's behind this?" He shook his head, fear and regret etched into his features. "I can't tell you. They'll come for you too. They're watching." The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. The implication was clear. If Harper was right, we were dealing with a much more sinister force. "Harper, if you know something, you need to tell me. We can't help you if we don't understand the full picture," He hesitated, his gaze darting around the warehouse as if expecting shadows to come alive. "There's a ledger," he said finally. "In a safe, behind the wall in the office. It's all there, the proof of their operations, their manipulation. But getting it will be dangerous," I nodded, knowing I had to act quickly. "All right, we'll find it. But you need to come with me now." Harper's eyes were filled with desperation. "They'll be watching. If I go with you, they'll make sure I don't live to see another day." I realized then that Harper wasn't just afraid for himself, he was afraid for me too. He was trying to protect me, even if it meant sacrificing his own freedom. "Then we need to find a way to outsmart them. We can't do this alone." With a sudden determination, I started searching the office area of the warehouse. I found the hidden safe behind a false wall, as Harper had described. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing a small, leather-bound ledger. I grabbed it and turned back to Harper, who was now pacing nervously. "I've got it," I said, holding up the ledger. "Now we need to get out of here." Before Harper could respond, a series of harsh lights pierced through the windows, and the sound of approaching vehicles filled the air. They were closing in on us. "Go," Harper urged. "I'll hold them off. You take the ledger and get to the FBI. They need to see this." "No," I said firmly. "We're getting out of here together." Harper looked at me with a mixture of gratitude and resignation. "If you say so. But hurry." We made our way to a side exit just as the warehouse was surrounded. The tension was palpable, and every creak and distant shout made our escape more perilous. I led Harper through a series of alleys and backstreets, the ledger safely tucked under my arm. We finally reached a secure location where an FBI team was waiting. I handed over the ledger and briefed them on the situation. Harper was taken into protective custody, and the team began to investigate the contents of the ledger. The information inside was explosive, evidence of corruption and manipulation that extended far beyond what we had imagined. It was a revelation that would shake the foundations of several high-level operations. In the weeks that followed, the investigation into the broader conspiracy was launched, and the real culprits behind the chaos were brought to light. Harper remained in protective custody, his name eventually cleared as the truth emerged. He had been a pawn in a dangerous game, manipulated into committing unspeakable acts. As for me, I returned to a life that was no longer as simple as before. The shadows of the past would always linger, but now I had hope that justice could prevail. I knew that the bonds of friendship and the fight for truth were worth every step of the journey, even when the path was fraught with danger and deceit.